All right, let's talk about the latest OpenClaw update, version 2026.4.7. And hey, if you're a developer who has ever wanted to throw your keyboard across the room after losing work to a session reset, you're going to want to stick around. Because this is not just some minor patch. It's a release that is absolutely packed with features that hit some major production pain points right where it hurts.
You know that feeling, right? You're hours deep into a really tricky debugging session, you finally got everything set up just right, and then poof! The context is gone, wiped out, and you have to start all over again. It's just the worst. Well, if that sounds a little too familiar, then you are in exactly the right place. We're not just going to read off a list of features today. No, we are looking at the direct solutions this update offers for the real-world problems that developers and engineers run into every single day.
The whole theme of this release really is that it's an update that listens. It is laser-focused on solving the stuff that actually drives you crazy. Things like losing your session context, dealing with knowledge systems that are kind of shallow, and hitting bottlenecks in your automation. So this update is really built around three, let's call them hero features. These are the absolute biggest wins that tackle those core problems head-on. We've got compaction checkpoints, the Memory Wiki, and webhook ingress. And we're going to break down exactly what each one means for you. Let's kick things off with the first one, which goes right back to that super frustrating problem we just talked about, the problem of lost history. This is all about losing that precious, hard-earned context during those really long, complex work sessions. And what's so important to see here is the trade-off we used to be forced to make. Session compaction has always been kind of a necessary evil, right? You could either have a fast, snappy session by clearing out your old history, or you could keep all that history, but your performance would just tank. You had to pick one. Well, this update completely blows that choice up.
So, how does it work? Seriously, just think of it as your new rewind button. As your session is running, it still compacts itself to keep performance high. And this is the game changer, instead of just deleting that history, it saves it as a checkpoint. So anytime you want, you can pop into the UI, look at that old history, and restore the full context. You get the best of both worlds. It's fantastic.
Okay. The second biggest win here tackles the problem of untrustworthy knowledge. A simple flat note store is fine for basic stuff. But when you're working on complex projects, you need a knowledge layer that you can actually trust and rely on.
And the solution for that is the Memory Wiki stack, which is kind of like creating a shared brain for your entire team. Instead of just a pile of notes, it uses structured claims. Think of them like facts or assertions that actually require you to provide evidence. It's smart enough to actively detect contradictions. It has staleness dashboards to show you what info is getting old. And maybe most importantly, its search is weighted by freshness. So the newest, most relevant knowledge always floats to the top.
The impact here is huge, and it's summed up perfectly by this quote from the source material. It says, "This whole system is far more trustworthy and auditable than a flat note store." And that's not just a small improvement. That is a massive leap forward in quality and reliability. All right, for our third and final major feature, we're talking about a classic bottleneck, the problem of manual automation. You know what I mean. You've got these powerful internal workflows all set up, but you still need a person to actually push the button and kick them off when something happens externally.
And the solution here is webhook ingress. The easiest way to think about this is like a secure open door for your systems. It lets any external system you approve, your CI/CD pipeline, a monitoring tool, whatever, to securely send a signal and automatically trigger one of your internal task flows.
And the process itself is designed to be incredibly simple and secure. An external system sends a webhook. It gets authenticated using a shared secret that you've already set up, so only the things you trust can get through. And once it's authenticated, the right task flow just runs. No human intervention needed. It is pure, no-touch automation.
So beyond those three huge headliners, this update is just jam-packed with a ton of really thoughtful quality of life improvements. These are the smaller changes that all add up to make your daily workflows so much smarter and just plain simpler.
This slide gives a great overview of those smaller gems. If you live in the command line, there's a new unified OpenClaw infer tool. For more resilience, media generation gets an auto fallback feature. For all you AI model fans, you now get full support for Google's Gemma 4 and auto detection for your local models through Ollama. And for just cleaning up your workflows, the heartbeat monitoring tool can now run silently in the background, and the dreaming process for data synthesis gets richer notes. It's all good stuff.
So, what's the final verdict? When you put it all together, the consensus is really clear.
This is a major upgrade, and it is absolutely worth your team's time to update now.
You know, if you only take one thing away from all this, let it be this quote right here from the analysis. Compaction checkpoints alone are worth it. That one feature, the ability to never again lose your context mid-session, is seen as the single most compelling reason to make the switch. Period.
And that really frames the whole value proposition here perfectly. This is a classic low-risk, high-reward upgrade. The big features solve real painful problems, and all the supporting changes add new capabilities and make things more resilient, all without introducing breaking changes to your existing setups. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Your team has probably spent a lot of time and energy coming up with workarounds for these exact problems, for lost context, for unreliable knowledge, for automation that isn't really automated. The question this update asks is pretty simple. Isn't it time to actually solve them?
If you want to dive deeper or get more details for your team, all the contact information from our source is right here on the screen. Thanks so much for tuning in.